What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and I am back with my NBA DFS contenders on FanDuel for Thursday, June 17th. Now be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all of our other content goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get updates to my sim results as we get closer to lock. And finally, let me know in the comments section who is your favorite and least favorite of my contenders for today's slate. We are rounding out the bottom of my top 10 with Landry Shamet, Bryn Forbes, PJ Tucker, Chris Middleton, and Joe Harris on the outside looking in. Who will be my favorites? My top 5 plays for today? Time to find out. First up at number 5, we're going to $8,500 Pat Connaughton. Now, I don't really have any interest in putting him in the MVP, star, or pro spot, but 42% of the time he is in the optimal lineup at utility. He played 32 minutes in Game 5. I'm not going to be that aggressive here. I am giving him 28, however, and at that price tag and that amount of minutes, he looks like an excellent value option. Just around 0.7 fantasy points per minute, and really it's not a really exciting stat line. 7.5 points, 5 boards, almost 2 assists, maybe a stock, but you are getting exceptional value for your dollar in terms of playing time. I expect Connaughton to be out there a large swath of this game. I don't think they're going to be making too many crazy changes to the rotation, which means 28 minutes of Pat Connaughton, he's going to be in the utility like almost half the time. That's a crazy amount for someone like Pat Connaughton. Next up at number 4, we're paying up a little bit more. 12,500 for Jrue Holiday. 2% chance of being in the MVP. 10% chance at the star. 35% chance of being in the optimal spot in the pro. And then just 1% at utility. So you're rarely, if ever, playing Jrue Holiday in the utility, at least in my opinion. I think the minutes have to trend up a little bit. He hasn't been the most... He had a really good beginning of Game 5 at the least, but no one from Milwaukee had a good end of Game 5. I'm giving him 38 minutes. He's still north of a fantasy point per minute. 40 fantasy points in this spot, 21% usage, 18 points, 8 assists, 5 boards. You can really use him in a couple different spots. I like the flyer at MVP. It's probably not all that likely. You know, we're talking about a 1 in 50 chance probably. But I really like that 10% at star, 35% at pro. We're at about a coin flip for Jrue Holiday to be in the optimal. Now at 3, I don't trust this at all. I don't know what else to do. 14K James Harden is coming in at that number 3 spot. 10% chance of being in the MVP, 25% chance at star, 18% at pro, 54% chance of being in the optimal. Look, your guess is as good as mine here. I didn't think that he could play 46 minutes the last time out. I'm giving him 42 in this spot. We're dialing it all back aggressively. Only 23% expected usage for Harden, and I'm not even sure if I'm comfortable with that number. 22 points, 9 assists, 8.5 boards, and maybe the boards are the spot where you feel least likely for Harden. He didn't seem to be all that active trying to get inside the three-point line, but really, you have to pay close attention to the ownership on James Harden because at the very least, we expect the minutes. So if he's getting low owned at MVP, star, or pro, then I like taking my chances there. But if people are treating him like he's normal James Harden, I do think that he is easy to fade. This spot has the most ambiguity. You got to pay attention to our projected ownership. He went crazy in Game 5, but I'm putting him at my number 2 spot for Game 6. That's 16K Kevin Durant. 41% chance of being in the MVP, 23% chance at the star, and 5% chance at the pro. Do not play him in utility. 69% of the time, Kevin Durant is in the optimal lineup, and that is very nice. 44 minutes, 1.39 fantasy points per minute, 61 fantasy points, and then this is where it gets really crazy. 37% usage, 36 real points, 8.5 boards, 6.5 assists, plus 3 stocks. We know this guy does it all. He played one of, if not the greatest games I've ever watched in my entire life 2 days ago. He's going to have to do it again, given what he's working with. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, but he's not my number 1 contender. Now, before we get to that number 1 contender, one last reminder, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Then follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. Only place you're going to get updates to my sim results as we get closer to lock. Finally, let me know in the comments section, favorite contender, least favorite contender, and the contender you thought should have been on this list that you did not see. And finally, the number one contender for today's slate, it's got to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. $15,000 price, so he's $1,000 cheaper than Durant. 43% chance to be in the MVP spot, 29% at star, 7% at pro. That is 79% likelihood that Giannis is in the optimal lineup. I'm giving him 40 minutes. Wouldn't surprise me if he played a little bit more just given the stakes of the game, but I don't feel super comfortable about it. 1.58 fantasy points per minute, 63 actual fantasy points, 33 real points, 13 boards, and 7 assists. These are video game numbers. Him being $1,000 cheaper than Durant is the key mark here. That's why he's taking that step ahead of him. To get to Durant, you got to play some scraps at the bottom, which is fine. He's going to be in the optimal a lot. But you got to go to Giannis before you go to Durant. The price tag just tells you that's easier. And not even just that, because that does open up bigger lineups for you. But obviously, Kevin Durant has a very high expectation given his minute ceiling. Giannis just does a little bit more across the board from a fantasy perspective. Obviously, we expect Durant to score more, but Giannis is ticking a couple additional boxes, and that brings the fantasy points a little bit higher. So with the savings, that one helps too, but you still expect monster numbers out of Giannis, the number one contender for today's slate. Alrighty, folks, that will do it. Those are my NBA DFS contenders on FanDuel for Thursday, June 17th. No process show today, unfortunately, so DraftKings version of this video is around here somewhere. Strategy show at 10 with Lofty, and then that is it for me. I'm done. That's it. No live before lock today. You got to watch somebody else. Keep your eyes peeled for my updates as we get closer to lock. Good luck tonight, everybody. We'll be back again tomorrow morning for another edition of the Contenders.